What's up guys, Kicks here and welcome back to another episode of this Crystal Palace FIFA 16 career mode. It's going to be a bit of a frantic, kind of fast-paced episode. We're going to be a bit all over the show because, as you know, Season 1 finished in the last episode. So we have lots to do, lots of players to negotiate with. Players are going to leave, players are hopefully going to come in. We're going to start pre-season and it's all going to be a bit chaotic. So make sure you're staying up with it. First thing we're going to do is hire a youth scout. Something that I really want to do here at Palace is improve on the youth system. I know as a club, traditionally Palace has not been we're never going to have a great deal of money to compete with the teams that are fighting for European places. So your Man Cities, your Uniteds, Chelsea's. We haven't got the kind of budget and the resources that they have. So in order to compete, I think youth is going to be key. As you saw on the last email there, a couple of players will be leaving. I think there's about 5 or 6 in total. Their contract is up, but we're going to let them go. The reason we haven't renewed them is because they're surplus to requirements and we don't need them. So it'll free up a bit more of the wage budget, hopefully, for us to use next year. But as you can see, the board said we had a super season. They're very happy with finishing 7th. Of course, the expectation was to reach a mid-table place. So 7th does exceed those expectations. But then again, in the Cup, we were disappointed. So, you know, they're giving us the benefit of the doubt after the good league form. They're not too worried about the Cups at all. But it's certainly an area that we're going to look to improve next year. So hopefully by bringing in some youth players and some, better players, we can improve the squad depth, which will enable us to play a more rotation side in the cup competitions next year. But as you can see, they've released the expectations. They want us to reach the last 16, which, to be honest, is doable. As a club that's fighting for European place, we should be there or thereabouts anyway. And you can see they've given us quite a sizable budget for the next season. I think that's 21 million that they've given to us, plus the money that we can raise by selling players. And again, they're only looking for a mid-table finish, so very realistic expectations, and we're very confident that we can improve on last season. So looking good, times ahead looking good. Here is the shortlist that I've put together. Now this is based both on the players that we went for last year and on your guys' suggestions. Now I said I wanted another centre-back. Vestergaard here is 23 years old, decent stats as well, and he's 6'6", so he's a player that we're going to look to bring in. You've got Decilio as well, Mario Rui, who we tried to negotiate with last year, Tillemans, a lot of you guys suggested, and then we've got Sigurdsson, Barkley, Ava Banega, and Wijnaldum as well, who was also a suggestion. I know there's been more, but obviously I do record these episodes slightly in advance, so if your transfer suggestion is not on that shortlist, I probably recorded this before seeing your suggestion, so apologies for that, but do keep your eyes peeled. They will probably feature at some point in the next episode. And how I like to work in terms of transfers, I love to send a lot of inquiries, put a lot of bids in and negotiate with a lot of players. I think it's better to get the ball rolling with the negotiations and pull out last minute if you have to, rather than not negotiate and miss out at all. But things we have to do then, accept pre-season tournament invites. Now we're going to go with the European International Cup. Not only is that the one that offers the most prize money, but I also think that's the one we've got the best chance of winning. I can see Palermo there probably being our biggest threat, and as you can see, it's going to take place in Italy, which is going to give us the chance to play at some legendary stadiums such as the San Siro, so that will be a good season for us. But we're just traipsing through some emails here. You can see the inquiry for Mario Rui. They want 7 million. We're going to meet them halfway. Well, actually, we're gonna go 5 million is the bid we're going to put in, and hopefully they'll accept that. They've asked for quite a bit of money for Vestergaard, more than I'm willing to pay. Same goes for Sigurdsson. That's more than I'm willing to pay for him, and Banega as well. The problem with inquiries this year is the club's asked for a load of money, way above the market value of players. Now, I know that's been the case in previous games, and that people say if you offer 50%, the bids will be accepted. That has not always been the case so far on FIFA 16, so we'll chuck the inquiries out there. We're not going to make any sort of unrealistic offers, even though we have got a big budget. I'm not looking to waste it, but you can see Tillemans as well. They're asking for so much money for him, and Decilio as well. It's just not like realistic for us to try and bring in these players. We're not desperate to sign anybody, but here is a look at the possible departures. You can see several players transfer listed, including a lot of youngsters as well. Hennessy, of course, and Sacco, who was really disappointing last year, also on the transfer list. Connor Wickham, who didn't score in 12 appearances, and a couple of the other players that have come back from loan are also listed. You can see 3 players that we're not looking to get rid of permanently. They're Boateng, Williams and Friars. They are all loan listed. But as you can see, I said in the last episode we weren't looking to sell McCarthy, but as you can see, Athletic Bilbao are interested in him, and they've offered above his market value already, but we're going to try and get 8 million. If we get an offer for 8 million for Alex McCarthy, you can see Leipzig also interested in him as well. If we get an offer of 8 million, I would be happy to accept that and keep Hennessy as my backup goalkeeper. I know in the comments on the previous videos, people suggesting that Hennessy is more than adequate as a backup keeper. I agree. So if we can raise some funds and have Hennessy as a backup goalkeeper with Butland as the main number one, I'm happy to do that. It's still a healthy position to be in goalkeeper wise. And for those of you that followed my FIFA 15 career, you'll remember the name Alvaro Vidal, and those of you that watch my streams, etc. He was a beast on FIFA 15, so we're going to go in for him this year. I said we wanted another CDM to play alongside Cabaye. Francis Coquelin is a target for us, genuinely, as is Chelsea's Ramirez. We want players with a bit of Premier League experience that still have room to kind of grow. I know Ramirez is 29 and he's not the youngest, but he has experience at that top level. So 2 genuine targets there. You can see we've negotiated with West Brom over a possible deal for Connor Wickham going in the other direction. We asked for 3 million. A lot of bids coming in for this man though, Alex McCarthy. You can see in the background here, loads and loads of clubs interested. We're fairly confident of getting a bid of at least 8 million for him. We've sent several counter offers back, so it does look as though he will be departing the club. But Empoli let us know that the bid for Mario Rui was unacceptable. This is where we're going to meet them halfway. They asked for 7, we offered 5. This time we are going to ask for 6. Last year we didn't sign him because his wage demands were too high. We're seeing if that will change this year, but Betis getting back to us regarding a player that I'm a huge fan of, and that is Alvaro Vidal. 2.5 million. That is, if he's half as good as what he is last year, that is an absolute bargain in itself. His wage demands are only 20 grand a week as well, so more than happy with that. And Arsenal getting back to us about Coquelin, however you want to pronounce it. 13 mil they asked for. We're going to offer 10, but even 13 is probably an acceptable amount. I'm just trying to undercut it to save us a bit of money here. I would more than happily pay that for Coquelin. If him and Cabaye as a central midfield pairing would be fantastic. But this is the problem with McCarthy. You can see we're going into the first pre-season game, the International Cup here against Portuguese side Marítimo. And McCarthy's asking to start the game. We had this a lot last year, 2 or 3 times since the arrival of Butland did he say he wants to be starting. But it's just going to cause friction. That's why I think it's best to see him leave the club. And after all the draws we got last year, we've decided to change formation. It's going to be a 4-1-2-1-2 kind of thing. With still 2 wide men. So we've got 1 CDM, 1 cam, and now 2 up top. That is hoping that we will get more goals and less draws. I know a lot of the draws last year were actually score draws, so less of a case of us not scoring. It was more of a case of us conceding and then chasing the game. But hoping a new formation will just, mean we are more of a threat when going forward. And you can see in the opening half hour of this game that has certainly been the case. I know Marítimo are probably not a good comparison between the sort of teams that we'll be playing in the Premier League, but that finish aside from Berahino, because it was shocking, there was positives there. That shows that him and Jamie Vardy can both link up very well together. It was a beautiful run and a beautiful through ball from Vardy to set him up, and you can see we've had several shots from distance, forcing the keeper into a good save. Now, a couple of changes, well 5 to be precise. Jordan Much, Martin Kelly, Sacco, Punchin, and 1 other coming on, Dwight Gale actually, and he was immediately involved, obviously getting the penalty for us here. It's a clear foul. He just uses his pace. He's very quick, Dwight Gale. He's not someone we're going to look to get rid of because purely he's valued way less than what his potential and what his attributes bring to the game. We're certainly not going to bother getting rid of a player of his quality for the sake of like 1 or 2 mil. So he come on, hopefully he'll get a lot of first team action this year, probably off the bench, mind. But if we play 2 up front, that will certainly give him more of a chance to play. And Berahino kind of picked up where he left off, dispatching that penalty, and he was in the goals at the back end of last season. So hopefully he can hit the ground running this year. And this man, Sacco, you can see he was fortunate in the way the ball fell back to him. But that is a decent finish, and that is the sort of thing we come to expect from him. We want him to be a goal-scoring threat. Last year he just didn't deliver with his performances, so hopefully this year will be kind of a new leaf for him. And if he gets some action, he can certainly up his game. But you can see Marítimo, a couple of attacks throughout the whole game really. They had a good chance just a few moments ago. In this one they worked the ball really well, but unfortunately for them they were offside. And you can see they didn't have a single shot on target. Just in case you thought I was editing the game to make us look better than we were. I wasn't. They didn't have a shot on goal. But Alex McCarthy again expressing his disappointment at not starting the game. It's just not going to happen, mate, when we've got Butland in the side. I'm sorry. Other possible transfer targets, obviously, as I said, we're going to be looking to bring in players that have got that top level experience. There's no point in us signing average players. So Christian Teo, Fabio Coentrao, Lucas Pietson, as I said, players that we're going to bid for a lot of players, because I prefer to get the ball rolling rather than leave it late and miss out. I like to have a lot of players lined up. It's always better to pull out of the deal on our terms at the last minute if we feel the need to do so. But Ramirez, you can see, $5.25 million we've offered. Chairman believes that's a realistic offer. If we can pick him up for that amount of money, that is an absolute steal in my opinion. Obviously his wage demands are quite high. Ross Barkley is a player that we're interested in but don't need. We've got Sinkgraven that can play cam. Marouane Fellaini is out of favour at Manchester United. His valuation is quite low, and I think at $6 million he would be a steal. Obviously we could use him as an emergency striker, as a cam, as a CDM. He really would be a good addition to the side. Ryan Bertrand is a player I'm a big fan of. $7 million we're going to put in for him. As the Ox, I'm also a huge fan of. He doesn't always play for Arsenal, so we're going to chuck in a bid of $7 million for him. He's a player with a lot of potential, and now you can see all the emails coming in regarding those offers. So I love doing this. I love pre-season. I love the business side of FIFA. But as you can see, West Brom have decided to match the offer for Connor Wickham, so it looks as though he'll be leaving. And a lot of clubs also matching the offer of $8 million that we asked for Alex McCarthy, so it looks as though he'll be departing the club as well. But you can see all the inquiries that we're sending here. We're getting responses. This guy was a guy the player, or scout, brought him to our attention rather. Derrida as a midfielder. He looks like a very good all-round player, so we're going to be putting in a bid for him. Janizovic is that? He's a player that we're not going to follow up our interest in. Carrasco from Atleti Madrid. Too much money. It's an unrealistic ask for us to pay that sort of money for a player, so not going to happen on that front. We inquired about a load of other players, say all Luciano Vieto, but again, teams coming back with unrealistic, asking prices really. But Rafinha is certainly one from Barcelona that we would be interested in. He's got a lot of potential, and obviously playing in a team like Barcelona, he did have some decent first team action in La Liga last year, to be fair to him. So he'd be a player that we'd be more than interested in. He's young as well, so a lot of potential to grow. As I say, we're going to be concentrating on the youth side of things. Offer coming in for Hennessy. Our plan was to sell him. It's no longer our plan to sell him, because this man is on his way out of the club. I don't want any friction in the team at all. And obviously we can get probably 6 or 7 times the amount of money that we can get for Hennessy. We can get for McCarthy. So he's going to depart the club. And then some fantastic news which really cheered me up. Alvaro Vidal, our bid of just $2.5 million for him was accepted, so we can negotiate directly with him. Like I said, if he's half as good as the player he was last year, he pretty much single-handedly won me Premier League titles with, I can't remember who we won it with now, Everton, Southampton, Newcastle we won it with, Chelsea I think we won it with as well, all on stream, not on YouTube unfortunately, because obviously I started on Twitch, but he won us single-handedly the title. Now, Mario Rui looks as though we're going to have the same problems with him. Wage demands are ridiculous. He's not proven in the Premier League, so I'm not willing to give him that kind of money that he's asking for. We've offered 44, and that is probably as high as we're going to go. There are plenty of other alternatives should we feel the need to get another left-back. Of course, we do have Suarez, but he did get caught out a few times last season. And then that asking price for Halilovic, no, mate, not happening at all. Jog on. But you can see, obviously, a lot more responses to the offers that we'd sent. Unfortunately, some bids being rejected, as you can see. But this one for Fellaini from Manchester United, obviously, he's not really in the first team fold. It was accepted, and I think this is a bargain should we be able to get him in. Obviously, with him, Ramirez and Coquelin, we wouldn't need them all. So this is why I like to get the ball moving with negotiations. We can then negotiate with the players directly and then pull out when we feel the need to do so, and literally just pick one. Or maybe 2, depending on how we feel at the time, who leaves, how much money we've got, etc, etc. But a lot of our offers being turned down. The £10 million we initially put in for Coquelin was turned down, so we're going to go back with a bid of 11.5. He is probably my #1 target this year, I'm not going to lie. Centre mid is a bit of a problem. We've got Caballo's outstanding, and then the rest of the players supporting him are just not quite on the same level. Iturraspe, we put an inquiry in there, as you can see, but again, the asking price was unrealistic. But that is where we're going to leave this episode, guys. Make sure to leave your comments below. If you don't like any of the players we've bid for, or you've got some other suggestions, please leave them below. I do this for you guys as well as me. I want it to be enjoyable. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe and like the vid, and we will see you in the next episode.